obviously, coming home, back to Davis, excited, good weather, great weekend. Wish we would have been able to get in one more game, but honestly, it just wasn't possible with TV being a factor, and then obviously weather. It was raining pretty good yesterday, so good news is we rested for 2 days, I guess. We got some hitting in, some practice in, and now we have a huge weekend ahead of us, so getting ready for that.
Trisha, you've always talked to us about, cherishing the underdog role, kind of being the underdog role. Your consensus top 3 this week, top in the RPI, the 2 teams ahead of you don't play. How do you approach now, a little bit like the bullets on your back, so to speak? People are going to say, hey, we got to beat A&M. How do you handle that? How did your team handle that or not?
Yeah, I think I still take that same approach because this is something that's, new for everybody in our program. And so there are things that we still have to execute at a higher level that I think is going to make us be a difference maker. So I don't let up, to be honest with them. I coach them like we are the top 100th team. I think we have a lot still to prove. Some things that I've talked about is I want us to not just be good for 1 year or 2 years. I want us to be good consistently. I want Texas A&M to be a perennial powerhouse in softball. And so there's a lot of steps that we still have to, I think, take in order for us to be viewed as that. So that's kind of the route that I'll go. I am one, and Matt will tell you this, I can always find things to put a chip on our shoulders. I think that was me as a player always. I always found something that pissed me off that, we could go after somebody, and I would say I probably coach that way as well.
KK broke out
Good
of
Lordy,
that
yeah.
freshman slump in a big way this weekend.
Yeah.
Just tapped SEC Player of the Week, obviously, deservedly so. Just any adjustments she made, or do you think it was just kind of her finding it over that bye week and then breaking out at Georgia?
Yeah, I think it's the ebbs and flows of the game and how you handle it. I think she continued to work hard and put in some extra work, and really sometimes it's just like going back to very basics, and I think that's what her and Coach Harger worked hard on, is just remembering the things that made you successful. That's the whole reason why he has the hitting books, is for you to go back when things are not going well and go back to like, okay, and sometimes it's just for you to get back into that mental state of like, oh, I remember that day writing down in the book, what I felt really good about. And so those books aren't for bad days. I mean, yes, you can vent, but really he encourages them when they're having a good day or they're rolling or they make an adjustment to put it in there so it's a book that they can reference back of like that point in time. Because I'll always tell the pitchers, like when they throw a good pitch, like hit record, like what did that feel like? What did that smell like? What did that, kind of taste like? And so kind of the same thing from a hitting perspective. So it was really neat to see. When she got her hit in our bye weekend, she came in, she's like, hallelujah, it's been a long time since, that happened. And then you could kind of just like see it kind of evolve and her get better. But man, her swings in the box this weekend, like it was full of confidence. She had really good decisions and she didn't get cheated in the box. So it was good to see.
And then the pitchers this weekend felt like that was kind of vintage Emily Kennedy. What did you see from her? And then also I want you to talk about Levitt a little bit.
Yeah.
How big she was in game 2.
Yeah, I thought Lefty did a great job. I think, we're still working through some bangs and bruises, and she's getting better and better. And so you can tell that she's getting back to her her old self, her normal self that, I think is going to help us here make a good push. We need her. And I think here's the other thing. She got every hard, difficult game preseason and had to work through that, right? And then we started conference play, and she had some rough outings, but she managed to kind of maneuver through them. And now you can start to feel her, like, getting her rhythm, right? And so for me, her and I have talked about is like, yeah, this year looks a little bit different, but hopefully it looks a little bit different at the end of the year too. And maybe you're peaking at the end of the year. So that part has been really good. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what she has up her sleeve this week. She's working on some things. So, I'd like for her to keep getting better and doing the things that has made her successful. Levitt, excited because we talked about her at the beginning of the year that I thought that this year could be a year where she really came out and surprised and did some things for us that were special, and I thought this weekend showed it. I thought she threw well in our off season, or I'm sorry, our off weekend, our bye weekend in those games. And then I thought she came in and did a great job for Grace. I mean, Grace kind of, didn't make some pitches, but also we didn't play great defense behind her. And so those kind of compounded. And so it was just one of those moments of like, okay, let's just switch momentum here and let's figure out if we can kind of reset. And Levitt came in. I loved her energy after that first inning when she got that second strikeout. I was like, oh, okay. So, it was good to see. It was good for her, I think, to see too, and to have some more faith and belief in what she's doing. And she's just got to keep working, and she's going to get more and more opportunities the more she puts those types of outings out there.
What stands out to you when you're scouting LSU?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it. So I would say that we're kind of similar. Like, we have solid pitching. We do a lot of things really well, but nothing at an extraordinary level. I think it's going to be key for us to play clean defense. I think it's going to be key for us to not let Burzon get us to swing at her pitches. I think it's going to be important for us to make her come over the plate, because I think, the good things happen always when that happens. And then they have a freshman that's really good, Heavner, and she is effectively wild with velo, so that poses a bit of a problem because you don't know where the ball's going and it's coming at 70. It's kind of like Emily Kennedy, right? It's vintage Emily Kennedy, her freshman year. Like, pray when you're up there, and but you have to be able to hunt the balls when they come over the heart of the plate. So staying patient, keeping your insides calm, but doing damage when that ball gets over the plate.
And did your team do that? We talked about hunting the right pitches in the off weeks against lesser competition.
Yep.
It seemed like on TV, whatever, you were able to do that through 2 games against Georgia.
Yeah, I felt like we carried that over. And so, obviously before we had hit that bye week, I felt like there were some things we needed to clean up. And in the batter's box, there were some things that Coach Harger, I know, wanted to clean up. And so it was a good time for us to go back to the drawing boards, be able to practice it against live arms. We had a lot of games in that 10-day period. And then have some success. So then it was that question, and that's what I challenged them with, is like, can you take what you guys kind of worked on and your focus really from that week and bring it into conference play? Because that's a big jump, right? You can say about, when you're playing non-conference games, but now you're in the SEC, you're at Georgia, great crowds. And so I thought they did a tremendous job, and I said this on air that when I went out there and made the change and brought Levitt in game 2, KP looked me straight in the eyes and said, "We're all right, Coach. Like, we're scoring more than 4. We're not worried." And I was like, "All right, glad you aren't," So, but they just have that confidence. They have that confidence in their ability to bond together. And again, you saw it again this weekend when Allie Enright and KK are rolling. We are very, very tough because you have the top of the lineup, you have our bangers, and then you're going to the middle to late end of our lineup and you're still in trouble. I think that says a lot about just how much offense we were able to put together this weekend.
Just in talking about that, I was going to ask you, like, you talked about how that kind of comes from confidence and their preparation. Have you seen that grow over time just throughout your 3 seasons so far, or is it this group specifically? Like, what can you kind of pinpoint that to?
Yeah, I think it's both, to be honest with you. I think when we got here, their lack of doing work on their own, their lack of intention at practice, the lack of them not being here over summer, the lack of weight room, like some of those areas, I think we've really become intentional on our part from a staff. But then once you start to taste success, you want more, right? It's like that craving, that's that dopamine of like, they're all competitors by nature. And so guess who was here first thing this morning hitting? Allie Enright. Like, I was talking to Coach Harger about some things this morning. He's like, yeah, I walked in and Allie Enright's already here hitting in the cages. And I was like, holy smokes. Like, that's when, that's exciting to me because I talked about this a little bit this morning. I had a TV phone call, but like, that's why they're going to be successful in life, is because they have that self-motivation, that drive to be great at things when people are not looking. And so that's why Allie, I think, anybody who hires her is going to get somebody that is top of the line character, on and off, in and out of the work setting, but also somebody that goes the extra mile and helps lead her team or her area to greatness. And I think it says a lot about Coco Woolley and Emily Kennedy and Allie Enright. Those kids, Kramer Eshte, that have been here for 3 years and helped build this, like they started something and they had to switch their whole MO, right? Like especially Coco and Emily Kennedy, right? They weren't used to the crazy lady, and they've bought in. And I think now they're seeing, what that looks like. And funny story, I'm rambling right now, but like we were talking to the freshmen, Coach Harger was, and I happened to sneak in a little bit. And, some of them at the beginning of the year, they're like giggly and laughy and like don't really get it. And it drives me nuts. Like, and Coach Harger even said to them, like, hey, we just don't really address you because you're not ready. You're not serious enough about what this looks like. You guys want to have fun. And I'm like, the hard work you have to put in the fall, in the off season is what makes this fun. Like going out and being best friends and like farting around on the field, that's not fun. That's not true fun. Fun is putting in work, sweat, like all of that, like debt, right? Into doing something and grinding and then going out and kicking somebody's butt. Like that's fun. And so they started to get that and they were laughing. They're like, we get it now, but you don't get it until you kind of live it. So, or else that's fun to me, I should say. So I want that to be fun for them.
Last time y'all had a top 5 series, it was an incredible atmosphere. You get another top 6 one here. Those don't really come around that often here, but now you brought that back. What kind of atmosphere are you looking forward to playing in this weekend?
Yeah, loud, rowdy, and very much the 12th man, I think it's going to be electric. I'm excited. We owe LSU. They swept us last year. That's very in the forefront of my mind. I might have told that to the girls a couple of times on the way back. So I think, it's time for us to come up and really play a tough series at home and get the series. I think it's time for us to take that next step. So I'm excited.
How do you feel like Coco is kind of doing in that 5 hole? It's given her definitely some more opportunities for RBIs and
Yep.
And also, like you talked about, just with the defense being kind of unsure now that she can stand in and hit a little bit more. Just how do you feel like that's going for her?
Yeah, I think it's going well. Coco is the ultimate so hard on herself that it kind of works against her. And so I think that's been more of our talk with mine and Coach Harger's of she's hit the ball hard a couple of times and just right at people. And I'm like, okay, you've done what you were supposed to do. Like it just didn't work out. So, again, Coco is just so dynamic, but she can short game. She can, hit a ground ball to second base and beat it out. And so, I think it's helped us and it's helped our team. And really at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. And she knows that. So, and I also told her like, hey, look at KK. Like she went through a whole month. It felt like KK probably felt like a year, where things were just not clicking. Like your time's coming. That's the great Babe Ruth saying of like, I'm one swing away from my next home run. And so you just have to, this game is very humbling and, it's just it's her time to really take on that part of her game and embrace it and be like, I am, going to swing at a good pitch. Like I'm going to put my A swing on and do the things that I can do and whatever happens, happens. And so I think as soon as she lets go of her results and worries more about her process, like she's going to hit, we're complaining that Coco's hitting 300 or 350. Like there's a lot of people that would love to do that. And that's what I tell her. And she just kind of rolls her eyes at me, because Coco has a different standard for herself, which also makes her, what she is. But I was like, Coco, you just got to let it go and go out and play the game.